No doubt everyone is familiar with one of these, a fire extinguisher. But what happens if you're not there or no one's there to manually start using the fire extinguisher to put out the fire? Well, there's this little blue tube that could be the answer. And Tim from Firetec is going to tell us a little bit more about it. So, Tim, obviously here we've got an example of a traditional fire extinguisher, but this blue tube is something quite special.
It is. The initial idea is where you have a cylinder and a length of tube attached to it, and the whole lot is compressed. There are no moving parts, and in fact there are no electrical connections at all. The tube is routed around where you think the fire is likely to start. That isn't necessarily the same as around parts of high value. In the case of a fire, the tube will form a single small blister. It won't split and do anything else. And the contents of the cylinder are discharged out of that small hole in the tube directly at the fire. And once again, I say there are no moving parts to it, and there are no electrical connections. And that means that you've got a very simple bit of kit that detects the fire and suppresses it literally within a few seconds. And it's a pneumatic bit of kit. It's not electrically initiated. There are no human intervention required at all.
And I think, you know, there was a recent review saying that the majority of fires are now caused by electrical faults. So if you could run this close to where you have electrical equipment and wires, then this is something that will detect that fire instantaneously.
That's right. Well, we use these to protect electrical installations themselves. So you have server racks, control cabinets, and not only those, we protect vehicle engines and anything where a fire could start. It's asset protection. You are protecting a discrete piece of kit, which could be an engine or a fridge or whatever it is. It was the Which magazine last week that's come out with this report about, as I understand it anyway, caveat, that most fires are started by electrical faults. And we feel that using electricity to detect a fire is a pretty dumb way of doing it, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's actually, you've got a brilliant demonstration just behind us. Let's have a look, Tim, at how these tubes actually work. Just to show you over here, in fact, you can see clearly this is the blue tube or the red tube that we've just been looking at. And obviously this is when it's detected a fire, and immediately the fire extinguisher can be in action.
These have been actually set on fire deliberately. It's not a fake hole cut with a penknife. It's an actual discharge caused by the heat of the fire, a small flame. In this case, it would have probably been a cigarette lighter. And it's come straight out directly at the fire. What we have done as a company, we've developed this further, that the original tube, which is the red tube here, that's rather weak by today's standards and has a maximum exposure limited of 70 degrees C, after which it's liable to fail. And kitchen systems require something that can withstand steam at 100 C, and modern engine compartments have turbo engines which get a lot hotter than that. So we've actually developed this secondary tube ourselves, I have to say on behalf of NATO, whose engines get very hot because they're surrounded by steel plate.
Well, that's a pretty cool client to have.
It's very nice, yes.
Who else do you work with? What kind of businesses, and where can we see this used?
Flexible, so we're not just NATO, but Caterpillar. London buses have got our stuff in. Also laboratory, fume cabinets, kitchen systems I mentioned. Archives. The Harry Potter archives in London are protected by our tube. So as flexible as you want it to be.
So who knew that a tube like this could have so many talents?
Actually, a lot of people before the war did. It's not a new invention, although before the war they had a problem trying to find a suitable plastic. It's been around a long time, longer. We don't actually know who invented it. Was used, the Royal Navy used it in the war in submarines with seawater, same principles. You know.
Well, brilliant to see such a traditional piece of kit being used in such a modern day world. Tim, thank you so much, and have a brilliant time here at the rest of FIREX. Make sure you do come down to the Firetec stand to find out more about this simple but brilliant innovation.